son-in-law. Short little story about them. She is a vice president for a tool and die manufacturing company, and he is the prime operations manager for sales and marketing for another tool and marketing company, and reports directly to Warren Buffett. Now, the two companies that he works for and she works for, they are extremely competitive, and they're always on each other's butts about which one is better. So I figured if I built a building that had both of them's names on it together, that they could be working together in the same place under the same name. I built this and showed it to them, and boy, I caused a lot of fussing. But to begin with this, I need to get the audience out of the way. When Bob, audience, there we go. This right here.
Okay, now you got it.
This right here, this is just nothing more than a materials list of some of the things that I went through. On this scratch build, I'm not going to go through all of the details of building this particular building, primarily because most of you already there's 1,000 videos on YouTube of how to go about building these different things. All I'm going to do is basically show some of the things that I went for in building this scratch build. All I did was I drew out a very rough sketch of what I wanted to look at and what the footprint could be. And from there, I just put together a list of materials that I need. And some of these things you will find on our website at Division 10 of a lot of these things. Monster Model Works. I got their HO scale concrete blocks. It's nothing more than balsa wood that's been etched to look like concrete blocks. They have all kinds of good stuff. Hobby Lobby basswood sheets and styrene, Northeastern scale, HO scale, 10-inch sheet lap siding. I got their chimney and the galvanized roofing there. Tichy Train Group windows and doors. At train shows, I pick up all kinds of detailing stuff and junk for my scrap bin for whenever I'm building something. So for this one, I had some gear straps. I had a hook. I had used some fishing line for the cable on the lift in the back of the building. I used the goose lint material from Engineering, and that's the way it's really spelt. The wood lettering on the building I got from off of eBay, and the paints and the weathering powders were all from Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So they're very easily, all of the materials for this build are very easily available. This right here is the footprint of the building. And as you can see, all of this right through here is nothing more than the basswood material that it comes in large sheets, and I just cut out what I needed to represent the foundation of this building. In the next picture, you can see this is the front of the building where I just put in a stairwell. All of this is done out of basswood. Nothing is really painted yet other than some of it up here to give it a concrete look. The rest of the foundation is seen throughout here. That's all four sides of it. This material is extremely easy to work with. This right here is nothing more than the structure of the building, and this is built under just normal kit building. All of the wood that you see right here is nothing more than basswood, and the siding here, all of that is from Northwest lumber, and they have a multitude of different types that you can purchase through them. And this is nothing more than looking at the building sitting on the foundation and going around all of the sides. This photo right here, you'll notice that it's starting to darken up. What I've done is I've done various washes on the building. So when I do put the final coat of paint on it, some of this will bleed through to give it a weathered look. On this building, I'll go back, there's a door here, and then there's a door on the backside. So I wanted to make my building, when I do all of my buildings, I do a lot of interior detail. So this door and the door over here, I wanted to make them to where they were able to be opened. And if you look in these pictures, all I did was I made the door, painted the color that I wanted, and then I made just the guide rail up above it and the trolleys right here, which are the hooks for the building. And this is just another picture of it. This material right here that I use the trolley is nothing more than styrene. This is what they call S-channel. This right here was nothing more than bits and pieces of styrene that I had left over that I formed into the door trolleys that it rode along that rail there. This right here is now looking at the building after I've given it the first coat of paint, and I've started trimming out some of the other sides of it, gave the foundation some paint and a little bit of weathering, and I put the galvanized rusted roof on top of it. All the windows and everything are cut out for the size of the titchy windows that I'm going to put in the building. And right here on this part, the stair steps right there, all that is nothing more than copper phosphorus rod that I cut into pieces and glued together with CA glue and just painted it black, and then just put some rusting powders on it to make it look like it was old and dilapidated. The rest of the foundation has been painted. There's further weathering that I do on the rest of it. This right here is just showing another view of it. This is how the door was framed out so that it would look better once I start doing the inside. This is where I started putting on some signs and other details up here on the sign right here is nothing more than something I made off my computer. I just found the font that I liked for the sign, put it together, and then all I did was cut it out and frame it with some wood. Over here on this side, this is the engineering goose lamp lights. I don't know if you can see that very well. And I just weathered it. This right here is part of the structure for the lift that goes out up over here on this side. All of this lift, 99% of it was scratch built. It's one of those, I don't know what you call them, but all of this is nothing more than styrene. What looks like bolts and that on it are some things that I got from Grant Line. So all it is nothing more than a square that I painted and put some anchor bolts in it. This is that area that I was talking about. All of this is nothing more than some wood that I cut out, made all of this stuff up here with just tiny pieces. They call these augmentals, all of this stuff right here. All of this right here is some thin styrene that I cut out for a brace, and then I put the augmentals in here to make it look like it was something. These is nothing more than the same thing, but gears and stuff that I picked up from the flea markets. This is picked up from a flea market. This right here is some fishing line that I painted to look like cable. And all I did was just look at a bunch of pictures that I felt comfortable with for something to build. This is a better view of that side door. I was just showing the trolleys up here for this door to slide open and close. And I've done a lot more on the building as far as weathering for the rest of the building. The letters up here, I bought these off of eBay. I think I got 300 letters for like $5, and I only needed these 3 right here for the building, but I got plenty left over for additionals in the future. All of the windows are Tichy windows. This is just a side view of the building. This is the front view. This is the view from the side of the building, the back side. More signs. This is the lift, the loading dock back here in the back. This picture doesn't show it very well, but I spent a lot of time weathering it. And when I got finished weathering, it just looked like one great big concrete slab. So it's not noticeable even when I blow up, but I put a lot of cracks and dents in it. And then I scribed out what would normally have been the normal concrete size padding for a dock area. This right here is showing the completed building on the side that's on the track side. Everything here is done with the exception I haven't done the inside of the building yet. This right here is a finished picture of it where I put lighting inside the building that you can see, and I've added some lighting up underneath here on the sign where it has a small little roof to protect it from the weather, the same as this one here. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. The one thing about this, all of the buildings on my layout that I had in Michigan, just virtually all of them are scratch built. And all of the buildings are named after somebody in the family. My kids are good friends. And by taking something that's say a good friend and something that they do, and then building a building of something that they would work in, kind of gives you an idea of something to build to put on your layout. This thing right here, probably in a kit form, would probably be well over $100. I'll bet you I didn't spend $30 total materials for this right here. I still had a lot of materials left over to do other buildings, which in the future, I'm sure you'll have an opportunity to see. And doing this scratch building, like I said, there's 1,000 videos on YouTube on how to do it. All you need to do is just have a scale ruler and to work in the scale of HOO, in scale or whatever, to do something like this. Time consuming a little bit. For me, it's not time consuming. It's more of a challenge on trying to do something and bring it to life. That's all I got to say, guys. If anybody's got questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
Anybody on Zoom have a question?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Where you butt walls together at a 90-degree angle,
Yep.
how did you fashion that joint? Is there a
Right
strip
here.
of,
Let's take like this. You're talking about like this right here?
yeah.
Okay. Let me go back some pictures.
Campbell used to make a strip that had two, how do you describe it? A kind of a Z-shaped strip of wood.
You
that
don't
you
need
could-
to do that anymore. I've got
How-
other pictures that probably take me a while to go through. This right here is one wall. This right here is one wall. The two walls are joined together with the backside of 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch on the inside of this corner, and 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch on this side on the inside. When these two corners butt up, I'd have to show you in a drawing, but when these two corners butt up, they provide for a 1/16 piece of
Okay.
also wood to fit in there.
All right. I follow you. I understand that.
Okay. And of course, on the inside of the building, I've done a lot of bracing because when you
Right.
start doing all of this
Yeah.
stuff, they bend and warp all over the place. I
Yeah.
probably overextend myself on making sure that it doesn't, but it makes putting it together a lot easier. Inside of my buildings, I always do some kind of a dark paint so that it doesn't look so blah, blah. But once I do the inside of the building, as far as detailing it with desks and other machinery and everything, it comes to life.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Rich. I had anybody here got a question? We got a couple questions here. Let me move the down there.
Rich, this is Cecil. When you're doing the wood, do you just use acrylic paints on wood?
This right here is, I make my own stains. I'm cheap. See, so this is India ink and some steel wool rusted in water and vinegar. That's all this stain is. The paints that I put on the buildings like this here and there, I get at Hobby Lobby and Home Depot, or excuse me, Hobby Lobby and Michael's, just very cheap model paints. There's very seldom do I use any of the expensive paints, only because they're expensive. And if you don't, I just right now I have no need for them. If I was going to do some work on something that was special, like weathering a locomotive or something of that nature, I would use them. On all of my structures, on all of my rolling stock, I use nothing more than the real cheap modeling paints.
Rich, I would assume when you say paints, it's the acrylics, right?
Yep.
You don't use oil paints.
I don't use the oil paints unless I do some oil paints when it comes to weathering on the rolling stock, only because there's some advantages on that material, on plastic versus wood.
Rich, this is Harold. I have a question.
Yeah.
What material did you use for your roof? And how did you make it look so realistic?
This right here is on the materials list. This is from Northeastern Scale Lumber, and they have all of this type of stuff. They have a galvanized roofing material that looks nothing more than aluminum that's been folded into a bunch of grooves to look like galvanized roofing. So all I did was, get a better picture here. All I did was I used nothing but Michael's and Hobby Lobby, different colors, rust colors, brown colors, to paint. This looks like nothing more than aluminum foil with creases in it. That's all it looks like. It's just much thicker. It comes in sheets, I think about 2.5 inches by 8 inches long, and I cut it down to scale. Most of this comes in scale sizes of 8 by 12 in the lumber yards back then and back today. You can get smaller sizes, and all I did was cut it down to about that size and make the roof on it.
Did you have to prime that roofing before you painted it with acrylic paint?
What I did was I airbrushed it with a off color light gray, kind of like what galvanized roofing would look like if you bought it out of the store right now. And it still had a little bit of shine, but I just gave it a light cut coating so that it had a texture for the paints to stick to. Now, some people will paint it dark black, dark brown, other things like that. I just did it in a light color of gray and just lightly sprayed over it, like I said, so that it had a texture for the paints to stick to.
Did you use a primer like the automobile primer a lot of us use before you put on the
No,
acrylic paint?
No, once in a while, I've used that, but on this, no, I didn't. I've never used any of it on galvanized roofing. I've always just airbrushed it with some Michael's real light gray color, thinned it down, and airbrushed it on.
Thank
Rich,
you.
I have a, go ahead. Harold,
You have
your
a
question?
question there, or
Rich,
So
I
what-
have a general question for your structures on your layout. Have you made a decision to begin lighting any of the interiors and exteriors? I know you got the lamp on this one. You didn't mention whether or not it was an operating light.
Yeah, this one here does have lights on it. You can see a light there, the lights here.
Ah,
There's a light
okay.
on the backside, a light over here. I could show a bunch of other pictures, but I'm afraid I'd get lost trying to find and to present to you. But all of the inside does have lighting. The only thing that I haven't done yet is do the detailing on the inside that the lighting would light up. The building itself lifts right off of the foundation. It just lifts right off. So it's easy for me to get in there and do whatever needs to be done.
Have you run into any kind of problems when you've lit an interior where the light shines through the finished material on the building and therefore have to paint the inside of the building to keep that from
That's
happening?
the reason why I paint them now. I've got one building that I did. I think you guys have seen it before, but it is a powerhouse building. And when I lit up the inside, you could see through the walls. So I've had to go back and repaint the inside of that building and cover up places where the light did shine through. So now on all of my buildings, so that doesn't happen, the only place I want to see light coming through is the windows, and that's it.
Window. Yeah.
so
It's a good
Rich, you paint
practice.
them.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Bruce.
I said it is a good practice to follow.
Yeah.
Even if you don't initially intend to light the building, it's a good idea to do it.
As
It
you-
doesn't take very much effort at
Yeah.
the beginning, but it's very hard to do it after.
As you can see on this picture where the inside has been painted
Right.
on the inside to eliminates 99% of that problem.
Oh, okay. Rich, what kind of glue do you use on the wood?
I use pipe bond, plain old wood glue.
Wood glue?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, type bond wood glue. It's a carpenter's glue.
Yeah, I think
It's a
I think I
yellow
have a
glue and
little
it
of
turns
that,
out
yeah.
clear.
It's just yellow glue, wood glue.
Okay, one thing I
There's
noticed on
type
that
bond
first,
1, 2, and 3. Does it make a difference?
Say what, Randy?
There's a type bond 1, a type bond 2, and a type bond 3.
I grabbed I've never paid attention to 1, 2, and 3. I use plain old type bond carpenter glue.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a 1, 2, or a 3. All I know is it's yellow. When I used to make furniture, I'd buy it in the gallons. And now I just buy it in the real small little containers for modeling.
Well, type bond, the higher the number, the more moisture it'll take. You can take a Type Bond 3, glue something together with it, throw it in the ocean, and it'll never come apart.
This would come apart. So it's probably the lesser of those.
No throwing it in the ocean. Rich, I was putting on that first picture, it looked like on the building, it looked like one of the boards was kind of put out. I know some people deliberately will lift out a board so it looks like an
Oh, yeah.
older building.
Let me go
Is
to that.
that, am I maybe not seeing it right or what?
Yeah, they are.
It doesn't matter. I'm just curious.
Yeah, you can see this one.
Like that, something like that one.
And like
Yeah.
here, since I didn't want this building to look too old and too weathered, I just did it very lightly in some areas. Now, this, there's Jason Jensen. I'm sure you guys probably know of him. He likes to really weather everything that he does severely, which is fine. It's just not something that I like. But I do like the methods that he uses, and I just use them as I see fit. I've got several buildings that show no weathering at all, and those are intended to look that way because I want them to look like a scene where some painting company came in and just had all of their material up, and they had just got finished painting the facility, so that it was a scene that was freshly done.
Oh,
Rich,
okay.
Bruce, Bruce again, you've got a picture up and you have that K&R up on the upper second, third story section.
Yep.
How did you build those three-dimensional sections to give them so much depth like that?
What these letters?
Yeah.
The letters are laser cut from wood. You can buy these at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I just so happen to buy these on eBay. And at eBay, there's many sellers that have laser cut lettering and figures and all that kind of stuff. And I found these on eBay primarily because I didn't want something real large. And this just happened to be the smallest that they had available. These were probably 5/8 of an inch, maybe 7/8 of an inch tall. These right here, when I got them, they were on 5mm basswood that was cut from.
Okay.
5mm is pretty thick, so all I did was take them and put them on some sandpaper and sanded them down to where they were quite thin. These right here are now maybe only a 1/16 of an inch thick. The black around the edges I put on with a felt tip pen, but I painted it first just an off white color and then went around the edges with a white felt tip paint.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, this is Sean. Are there nail holes in that siding that I see?
Yeah, in some places I had to, Sean, to be honest about the whole thing, I forgot to use my where they call it pinch wheel to do it on the whole building. So I just did it after the building was built. I picked some select areas where I punched holes with an awl, and then I cut some slits and then put in nail holes with just an awl. And now the awl that I used for the nail holes were nothing more than a needle or a pin that I stuck in cut the head off of and stuck it in a matchstick and used that to punch the holes in the walls. But all my other I never knew that how to do that until I saw someone do it with a punch wheel. Now I've got them, so I use it on all of my buildings.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for you